I'm calling this meeting to order for Wednesday, February 9th, 2022. We have a roll call, please.
Martin,
Present.
Berman,
Berman's here.
Davis,
Davis here.
Ford,
Present.
Bras,
Here.
Gums,
Gums here.
Yurog,
Here.
Shepro,
Shepro present.
Caius. You have a quorum.
Vice President. All righty. Then item number 2, approval of the minutes. May I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from December 15th, 2021, January 12th, and
Davis
January
moves.
Berman
January
second.
31st. So
Oh, sorry.
Davis, and we'll speed it along here. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Davis and Berman. Is there any discussion? I'm going to mention one thing, and there's the minutes are correct. There's just a numbering order on the January 12th minutes. And our clerk is going to check on that just to see if she can get that straightened out, but it doesn't change the body or the context of the minutes. So it may be slightly different than what you were presented or sent in email. Okay. Can I have roll call, please?
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Bras,
Braz, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Caius.
Caius, yes. All right. Finance report. Do we have someone from finance here? Nobody. Okay. Financial documents are attached. Is there any public comment here or online? Hearing none, seeing none. Item 5, facilities management, ongoing projects. Mr. Mark Smith, can you update us on I think it was JJC courtrooms?
Good morning. I just want to give a real quick update. A couple months ago, this particular topic came up, and I just wanted to give everybody a heads up as to where we're at. We got a bit of a delay that has happened. The reason for the delay is to make sure that the project itself gets done correctly. So what ended up happening was, if you look at something on paper, it looks great, but then when you go get ready to use it at the user level, sometimes it's not so great. It's like buying a car. You know, it looks good on TV, looks good in the magazine, and then when you take it for a test drive, it doesn't fit right. So what we ended up having is that particular bench for the judge needed to be, we had some concerns with security. So basically it sat too low. The judge didn't have any ability to write notes without other people seeing it. They were awfully close to the folks, lawyers and folks on the other side of the bench. So what we ended up doing was going back, we did a quick redesign. Everything's being raised, expanded out so that you can't reach over the bench. And it also seats the judge higher. The reason it was low to begin with is because they were trying to meet ADA regulations. So to compensate for that, the ADA ramp now goes in the hallway behind the bench and then comes around to meet those standards. But then we also have raised the bench, or will be raising the bench itself so that the judge and the clerk sit higher and there's more security. So thanks, Sheriff, the court security got involved. Everybody took a look at it, made sure we got the right height. We did a mock-up. We had the judge and chief judge come back in and take a look at it. Everybody's now approved it. It's being redrawn. It's going to set us back about 1 month, basically, but the chief judge and everybody was good with that so that we get it right. Then the other thing that happens now is at the end of this month, they will start the wiring for the audio visual things. And then that will coincide with getting the bench raised, and everything should be finished by about the second week of April. So there you
Thank
go.
I'm sure they'll be happy.
I hope so. I mean, it's an opportunity, to get it right the first time,
There we
so
go.
we don't have to go back and retrofit. So it'll look great.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Was there an implication there that lawyers might
I
look
mean-
at the judge's notes?
Mr. Martin, I'm sorry, can you speak into your mic?
Was there an implication there that the lawyer might look at the judge's private notes?
There was.
Can't imagine. Okay. Item B, resolution. Can I have a motion and a second for authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the Supreme Court of Illinois for the lease extension of space in the 3rd Street Courthouse for 16th Circuit Arbitration Center. Moved by
Gums will
Ford.
move.
Gums
Gums will
second.
second.
And speaking, do we have someone to speak to that?
This is I guess I can speak to it a little bit. This is really a housekeeping issue. We do this over annually. So it's basically
Great.
housekeeping more than anything.
All right, thank you.
Question, Shepro, but I think it might have just got answered.
Sure. Mr.
So
Shepro.
this is an annual renewal?
I believe it is, yes.
Okay. Just always seems to be coming up.
Right.
My, how time flies when you're having fun. It's been a whole year.
Yes.
Okay. Then I have a motion and a second. Can we have roll call, please?
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Braz,
Yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Caius.
Caius, yes.
Passes.
Motion passes. Item C, resolution authorizing a fiscal year budget adjustment of building management capital funds related to the fiscal year 21 multipurpose building construction project. A motion by
Raz moves.
Froz, second by
Berman.
Berman,
I could handle that, Mr. Chairman.
and then Mr. Froz will speak to that.
Yes, during the tail end of the multipurpose building construction, we needed some funds to do some additional last minute items that were requested by different departments. The public building fund is a fund that the county's had for forever. This is was set aside years ago to fund any of the county buildings, generally in the county seat, which is the Geneva area. So we have this funding in place. We have a budget for the public building fund. So what we did was we borrowed 75,000 from the public building fund to get those things done, knowing that we were going to be receiving a grant from the state. And I believe those funds have been received, and this essentially just pays back the public building fund from those grant funds.
So that was coming from the grant. Is that
Yes, sir.
what you understand, Rick?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, great.
Question, Shepro?
Mr. Shepro,
Yeah, Drew or anybody, is that money that used to be or still is in some fashion under the control of the Public Building Commission?
Yeah, I'm actually the chairman of the Public Building Commission. We don't meet very often, but the history of that, as far as I know it, is that the Public Building Commission oversaw all of the county public buildings in the Geneva area, which is the county seat, of course. And I believe we have a balance of $1 million or $2 million in there right now.
My recollection is that was money that was left over after all of the bonds were paid off for the building construction.
Which building?
Well, I think actually the last one might have been the new courthouse,
Yeah, I believe that's true. So it's essentially
the judicial center.
it's a holding fund for any funds that may be surplus.
Yeah.
You know, we may get another grant and not use it all, and that could go into the public building fund. So yeah, these funds have to be used on county buildings in the county seat.
It speaks to the prudent management of the Public Building Commission by its chairman.
Thank you. I agree.
Thank you.
okay, any other questions? And a second, can I have a roll call, please?
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Braz,
Raz, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Caius.
Caius, yes. Resolution passes. Item D, and a resolution authorizing the transfer of Building Management Corrections Center maintenance employees to the sheriff's office from building management. And may I have a motion and a
Raz
second?
moves.
Froz moves.
Ford seconds.
Ford second. I believe we have Sheriff Hayne to speak to that.
Yeah, just a little history on this. So up until the mid to late 2000s, the sheriff's office always managed these personnel. Obviously, the Kane County Adult Correction Center is probably one of the most sensitive and secure facilities within Kane County. And since it transitioned back to building management, it's been difficult to have proper supervision of these personnel and making sure their tasks are completed in a timely manner. So what this resolution does is moves the personnel back under the sheriff's office for the time being. And there's been a lot of conversation on this. We had talked about moving commodities and capital along with this over to the sheriff's office for the operation of these personnel. But for the time being, we're just looking to move the personnel and talking to building management. We may come back to this committee to move the commodities over if our communication channel isn't flowing properly. But we kind of want to step into this slowly to make sure that things function well.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments or questions for Sheriff? Madam Chair.
This one's not.
Try item B there.
Try this one. There you go.
There.
How many people are going to be moving over?
It's 7 positions.
Is that enough for you?
Yes, it is.
And is that the temporary help or is it permanent help?
We want it to be permanent help. There's discussion of temporary help coming in until this resolution passes over the next month, but we're really wanting solid personnel that we hire to be the ones that are inside that very secure facility.
And that'll go out an additional resolution then, correct? After we set salaries.
So we would, as soon as this passes through full county board next month, assuming that it does, we would conduct the hiring process for them. And then again, down the road, if we decide that the commodity portion, the capital portion, and we're talking things from water softener, salt to, you name it, air filters for the ventilation system. If the communication flow is not working well between us and building management to acquire those commodities, then we would come back with a resolution to move it over to them. We're just trying to make everybody's life easier.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
under one roof.
No, we have to have a secure environment for them
Yeah.
and a clean environment for you to work in.
Question, Shepro.
Mr. Shepro?
Yes, so as I understand it, Sheriff, when you say that this is, well, I forgot the word you used, but the notion is that these personnel, it's not just the direction that's changing, they will become employees of the sheriff's department.
That's exactly right, Mr. Shepro. So it moves their salary and benefit line items over to the sheriff's office. So they
And-
become our employees.
And then logically, it would seem that the rest of their function would be moved, but I understand your point in saying, let's do it, one step at a time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? I think it speaks to the county code, actually, that we've been talking about revising. Is originally, the county code does say that maintenance is handled in all buildings by building management, except for the adult corrections facility. So this moves us back to where I think it was at when that code was established.
Shepro, and I think that there were always some question as to whether the county code conflicted with the sheriff's authority under state law.
Okay. We'll make it right.
We've made it right.
All right. Can we have roll call, please?
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Bras,
Raz, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Caius.
Caius, yes.
Passes.
Okay. Item E, facility usage 2022 Geneva festivities requests. Is that you again, Mr. Smith?
I can. This is an annual event. It's been a big hit. It's actually a really cool event. If anybody's ever attended, it's in cooperation with the folks that run this event, and it's really is a great event. So we do it every
Involves
year.
the 3rd Street and this facility?
Yes.
Okay. And since it's usage, I think we just have to have a consensus. So it only comes to this committee. So barring a no from someone, I will accept that as a consensus from the committee that we will authorize this. All righty. So be it.
I have a question on that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean,
Mr. Martin.
You have I'm joining in the consensus. Have you received an application from the Geneva Community Chest? No.
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
I usually get these. Well, we'll talk about this out of the meeting. It's
Okay,
relevant to anything on the agenda.
good idea.
Question, Shepro.
Mr.
If
Shepro,
this is committee consensus, who actually signs the permit or whatever official document is needed to accomplish the goal?
I don't have the document in front of me, but I believe, Madam Chair.
Okay.
so we'll find out.
The chief judge does sign off on it first.
Chief Judge signs on it first. Okay. Well, we'll take it till then. If we need to do something else, we'll bring it back and it's in April? Is that what-
It says, as Fry speaking, it says on one of the documents, Office of the Chief Judge, and it's got a signature block for the chief judge.
Yes,
I was wrong.
Great,
for all courthouses.
thank you. All right, item number 6, information technology. Roger, you got a resolution for us today?
Yes, good morning. This is Roger Fonstock from the IT department. We have a resolution authorizing professional services for consulting and project management for the IT department. And I'd ask for the motion and second for that. And we can have a discussion.
Okay, this is for authorizing professional services for consulting and project management for information technology department. Moved by
Davis,
Fraz.
President Davis.
Do you have a second? Thanks for the help.
Thank you. So the resolution before you is for project management and professional services that we use for managing large county IT projects. These projects are things like our major software upgrades, public safety systems, court management systems, the finance system for the ERP. We also use these services for the 911 center. So a lot of the projects require attention to detail, follow up on schedule, statement of work, those types of things. So that's what this is targeting. We had under resolution 20-35 and bid number 5-20 awarded this to Defen.net Solutions. And this is completed the 2-year term, and there's an option for an additional 2-year term if we mutually agree, and we certainly do. We find their services to be perfect for our current needs anyway. So what we're asking for is the additional 2 years in the option, and it's not to exceed a budgeted amount of $280,000 per year. This comes from various project services accounts throughout the different budgets that we manage. So we have different funds for court, public safety, for the county IT and finance. So when you look at the resolution, it'll say various line items, but it is a budgeted expense, and we're asking for the 2-year extension for $280,000 a year for 2 years with Defen.net Solutions.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Fonstock? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Bras,
Fries, yes.
Combs,
Yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Caius.
Caius, yes,
Passes.
Thank you.
passes. Okay, item 7, public information officer update. We have this on our agenda monthly, but I don't think Mrs. Mann has any update, so we'll just move along. Then to item 8, Mill Creek SSA, Special Service Administration. Mr. Griffith?
I could take that. if
Oh,
you want.
you're Mr. Frost, certainly.
Okay, no, we talked before the meeting. Actually, I'll be asking to table this item. This has to do with we lease a small office, basically a storefront in the Mill Creek Town Center for Mill Creek SSA operations. As you know, everything in Mill Creek is paid for through the local SSA tax. But there has been some discussion since we have the new facility maintenance base of operations out at Peck and 38 that we might possibly be able to get along without this lease. We have a really nice conference room and it's only 2 miles away. So I guess I would like a little bit more time to, I'd like to table this and talk, at our Mill Creek meeting and with staff about the possibility of if we want to move forward with another extension of this lease or let it expire.
And you have time to work on that.
Say again?
So you have time to work on that?
Yes.
Yes. It's not a, I'm sorry, did somebody online have a comment? Okay,
So
I don't think we need anything, just, you're just
It's a
withdrawing it from the,
resolution, So I guess I would
it's
make.
not
a
been
motion
moved
to-
or second. but-
Motion to table or?
Okay, motion to table, Froz,
Ford second.
Ford second. Any discussion? At the request of Mr. Froz, we'll move to table. Roll call, please.
Berman,
Yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Froz,
Yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Caius.
Caius, yes. I probably should have said move to table until the next meeting. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not sure. If Mill
Oh.
Creek only meets every 2 months or the SSA, so we may need an extra month.
okay,
So I guess indefinitely.
all righty. I'll probably get in trouble from the state's attorney for not saying postpone, right? Darn. Okay, there, I have nothing for vehicles. New business.
Mr. Chairman, Shepro.
Yes,
If the mover and the seconder wanted to change their motion to a motion to postpone indefinitely, I think that would be in order on the previous item.
Okay.
I would agree with you, Mr. Shepro.
So I think, I don't know.
so
who
move to
seconded.
postpone then. That was
Frost.
Froz and Ford.
I'm in agreement.
And Mr. Ford agrees, Mr. Froz agrees, so it's postponed indefinitely.
Thank you. Sorry.
Old habits die hard. In vehicles, none. Item 10, new business, Jody Woolnick is going to introduce someone. Is that correct?
Thank you. Again, I am Jody Walnick, Director of Environmental and Water Resources. I am just here to introduce this item to the committee. It does not fall under our department. However, we were asked by building management to attend the Zoom meetings with Tradition Energy. And so I just wanted to bring that topic up to the committee today. The county currently has under Constellation Energy a 3-year natural gas contract for all of our facilities that expires this April 30th. It would be helpful for the committee to know how the bidding works. It's very similar to how we do the electric aggregation that falls under my department. One of the challenges is that it doesn't exactly follow our purchasing requirements. And so because of the changes in the gas prices, it's necessary to sign the contract very quickly, as well as have it vetted through our state's attorney's office very quickly. Myself and Maria attended the Zoom meeting with Transition Energy, Traditional Energy yesterday. And one of the challenges that we have, not having background on how the original Constellation Energy contract was set up, is that we don't know if the chairwoman has authorization to sign this contract. And so bringing it forward to you today allows us the time necessary, if that needs to go through as a resolution, right to executive committee. We also need to let the state's attorney's office know that the turnaround will be a very quick turnaround for the review of that contract. And there needs to be an authority on the county side that makes the final decision on that contract, as well as the terms and conditions for the length of time of that contract. So I will turn it over to Michael English, who we contracted through with Tradition Energy. That contract went through the county in January, and he can explain a little bit better to the committee how the bidding process works for the natural gas aggregation. I would also point out that our current contract does not include the multi-purpose building because the contract was let 3 years ago. And so the new revised contract will need to include that building as well. Thank you, Michael.
You have the floor, Mr. English.
Hi,
Good
thank
morning.
you, Jody. I appreciate the introduction and the background for everybody. As Jody mentioned, my name is Mike English. I work for Tradition Energy. So we are an energy consulting firm. We partner with the county through our Omnia Partners Cooperative Agreement, just to provide some background for the group. So we're acting as a consultant in this process to manage a bid and go out to the marketplace, solicit bids from suppliers, Constellation Energy, and all the other qualified natural gas suppliers to ensure that it's a competitive process, and then also consult on the contract negotiation process, the execution of the actual agreement, and provide consultative guidance on what's going on in the market for gas prices, and ultimately a recommendation to help support and guide the county going forward. So as Jody alluded to, the process in of itself is timely in that natural gas offers are incredibly volatile and change day to day. So effectively, what we're talking about is just getting an understanding amongst the group that how this process typically works is we'll go out, issue a bid from the market and go out to the suppliers. We'll bring that feedback to the board or whoever else needs to review this, as well as purchasing, obviously, and walk through the offers of all the different suppliers and start to talk about a strategy and a recommendation from there based on the pricing received. We can pull sample agreements at that point in time from the most competitive bidders and send that over to the state's attorney office for review and start to work on negotiating terms and conditions from there. Usually our experience is that process can take a day to a few days time to get all that ironed out. From there, once we have the language agreed upon with the more competitive bidders, we'll go do a subsequent bid to refresh numbers based on market movements. And from there, pull an executable agreement based on the language being approved and work to get that executed. Typically, those need to be pulled and signed that same day. Otherwise, if it carries longer than that, you run the risk of market movements impacting the price and having the number change. So the timeline is pretty condensed. And unfortunately, given the circumstances, the current contract, as Jody mentioned, with Constellation Energy expires at the end of April. So not a ton of time between now and then to go through the process, but we're certainly positioned to get it done accordingly. So I'll pause there and see if there's any questions about just the process itself and how we're positioned to help the county going forward.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any questions? Apparently, you've got us all baffled, or it was fairly very clear.
Hopefully it's the latter. So I know when we were talking last night with Jody and Maria in procurement, obviously the county had already approved the resolution to bring Tradition in through our cooperative agreement, which is in place through Omnia Partners. It used to be known as U.S. Communities. I know that traditionally for these types of bids, the county has issued something in the newspaper and as well as published something on the website. The whole purpose of the cooperative agreement for our services is that we manage that bid process for the county. And so I know there was some questions about whether or not this process in which we're trying to execute would also work, because the issue we'll run into is if the county goes out and does a bid through the newspaper publication or the website, obviously you're picking a time and a date to have all these suppliers respond by. And if we're subsequently doing that same exercise, it creates confusion in the marketplace where suppliers like Constellation, for example, won't know who to provide the offers to. And also the timing can be off accordingly. And also that leaves the county subject to whatever the market is doing at that arbitrary day and time that they decide to have the bidders submit offers by. So our approach is different in that we look at what's going on the market side based on opportunities that are presented from where the commodity is trading, and ask suppliers to provide pricing when it's opportune for the county to take advantage of that. So ours is more strategic based on market movements rather than just based on an arbitrary timeline. So the conversation last night was whether or not this would be allowed via that cooperative agreement for our services to come in and manage the bid going forward. So I think we're also looking for some clarity on that as well.
Michael, could you maybe mention also for the committee's knowledge what our current rate is with Constellation versus what you're seeing in the marketplace currently?
Yep. So the current contract with Constellation, and thank you for bringing that up, Jody, is currently $2.71 per MMBTU, or decatherm is how they contract it as. Most folks are probably used to seeing their NICOR bill at home where it's invoiced in therms. So the rate on a per therm equivalent is 27 cents per therm effectively. So currently that rate is significantly less than what's trading in the market. Natural gas prices have effectively doubled here in the Chicagoland area and subsequently across most of the US. There's a myriad of reasons for that. When this contract was executed, which was back in October of 2019, it was just a fundamentally different marketplace. And in particular, in the Chicagoland, there was a much more natural gas passing through this territory. So that subsequently has changed as natural gas is being pulled into other markets. So we're not experiencing the same supply glut that we once had. And then just global demand is also increasing. We're exporting a tremendous amount of gas overseas. Tensions with Ukraine and Russia are creating some issues. Also, we're using a tremendous amount of natural gas to create electricity now, as opposed to where we were 3-4 years ago, as we've retired a lot of coal and nuclear plants in other parts of the country, not only here in Illinois. So it's just more demand in the marketplace for gas as opposed to where we were before, and supply has remained relatively stagnant, if not declined marginally. So it's just a tighter picture going forward. And so we're seeing, for other clients similar in size and scope to Kane County, some prices as good as the high $3 range or high 30 cent per therm range. So it will be a budget increase going forward. Our job now is, being tasked as the consultant, is to manage the extent of that increase and make sure that the county is paying the lowest price going forward and under the right product and terms and conditions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? That's or anything? You have
Question, Shepro.
first of all, Mr. Shepro, go ahead.
Two things. So do I take it that the state's attorney is still reviewing the process, or have they signed off on it? And secondly, anybody who just has recently paid their gas bill for the month of December, I think knows that things have just about doubled. But I wondered if we had an estimate as to what the total dollar estimated increase would be for the new contract.
To the first question, I'll probably defer to Jody in procurement. I don't have any feedback yet as to where we are with the state's attorney. And so the second question, I can give you a ballpark estimate as to what your budget would be. Just give me 1 second while I look that up, and maybe Jody can help with the first answer.
Yeah, I just spoke with Maria, and she informs me that the state's attorney has signed off on the process. But again, there is the review of the contracts once those bids start coming in. So they've not seen any of the contracts as of yet.
But that would have to be basically like same day review.
Yes, it's very similar to our electric aggregation. We review the contract within 24 hours and have the chairwoman sign off.
Mr. Martin?
Then do I understand correctly that the procedure would be that we will, assuming we have a consensus from the committee today to move in this direction, then there will be a resolution prepared by the state's attorney's office to be presented to whom? To executive? Is that the next?
I think it was going straight to
available meeting?
executive. Was that correct?
That's the part where I'm just the speaker here. We don't know for sure if there's already a resolution on file for authorizing the chairwoman to sign. We don't have to send a resolution through every year for electric aggregation. She automatically has that authority to sign our electric aggregation contract. But being that this falls under building management and not environmental water resources, we don't know if there's a similar resolution for this type of a contract. So we need the state's attorney and or staff to look into that. If there's not, then we would suggest it go right to executive with a resolution authorizing the chairwoman to sign the contract when it comes in.
Okay, thank you.
And then,
To,
Madam Chair, you
sorry.
had a
I have a question on the timing of this. From what I'm hearing, it has to be done immediately. We have 24-hour approval period once the contracts come in because of the price points. So do we have time to go to executive?
That would be after the bids are received. So we haven't started that process because of the fact that we just had the meeting with them the other day. We're trying to figure out the procurement requirements that fall under the county. And so once we have those bids, like the electric aggregation process, we being building management, would be coming to you with their recommended contract that's been vetted by the state's attorney for your signature within that 24-hour period or 48, whatever it might be. Michael may be able to speak to that a little bit better. But it's a very tight time frame before the market changes again, and then those bids are no longer held by the vendor.
So
Yeah,
the-
Shepro comment. I think in the past, we've used this procedure for bond pricing where you get a particular price on a particular day. And again, you have to essentially act at the day that is appointed, but it doesn't mean that you won't have 48 hours to schedule a meeting if you had to.
Oh, okay, very good.
Well,
So did you have a comment, Mr. English?
Yeah, so I wanted to answer that original question about what the ballpark budget increase may
Oh,
be.
Well, just hold that thought for just a second. Was there another question about the procedure?
yes.
Mr.
I would-
Martin?
To the point made by Mr. Shepro, I would prefer that we not put a plan together which may necessitate a special meeting. I would like to approve this process so that it can be done, because special meetings require quorums. We may not get something done. And we really have nothing to say at the special meeting except, yep, that's the lowest price. So if all is in place, I want the procedure, my thought and what I would support would be simply authorizing the chairman to execute, if in fact that hasn't already been done, authorizing the chairman to execute with no further review by any committee or the board.
Shepro comment.
Well, I'm going to give Mr. Froz a shot first. here.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mr.
I agree with Mr. Martin, and I'm a former chair of this committee, and I seem to recall, I don't know whether it was a bond or commodity, but I seem to recall sitting up in the chairman's office with that authorization, looking at the numbers and signing it. The chairman signed it, right then and there when the price was best. So, it's been done before, and I think that would be the way to go.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Froz. And then Mr. Berman, did you have something?
Well, just to say that I'm familiar with this from the village standpoint, and same kind of thing goes on, so we need to do that.
Okay, then
Shepro?
back to you, Mr. Shepro.
Yes, I agree with those comments. I think my belief is that in those cases, the committee approved a not to exceed ceiling price. So if
Okay.
it turned out that, the market spiked 100% overnight, we'd have to revisit what we were going to do. But if it were within a fairly broad range, then no further action was needed because the authorization had been given.
Mr.
Thank you for the historical insight.
May I again comment on
Insight.
Mr. Shepro?
Sure.
So
Mr. Martin?
if we go to the wall on our negotiations because the price exceeds our anticipated maximum, then do we go without gas while we, I mean, we don't have a choice here. All we can do is to take the best that's available and get it signed up and go. And if the market says that we pay far more than we thought, we don't have an option. We either pay it or we, start burning wood.
My understanding is we're going to be clarifying some of this by doing some historical exploration on how it's been done in the past. So we'll know how this procedure can be best dealt with. We're
If
not
I can
really,
comment on that?
we're not asked to be, we don't have there's no resolution here today. So we're not asked to vote on anything today. This is just an educational process.
I think
I believe-
Mr. English had a comment.
And then Mr. English?
Yeah, to that point. So that's how we've done it with other governmental agencies, counties, where they effectively say not to exceed based on the initial results of the bid. We can put a bandwidth to the upside to kind of build in a cushion if necessary. The rule of thumb is that yes, the offers are usually only good that day. Otherwise, they're subject to market movements. There could also be a situation where, we get the bids and then there's a change in the market and the market comes down. We're obviously going to want to renegotiate those to take advantage of that for the county. So there is that built-in assurance that if the market moves lower, we'll renegotiate to get updated bids to reflect that movement downward. The comment was made that effectively, you have to do something. Worst case scenario is that if the bids come back and there's a drawn out process, or if for whatever reason the market does rally 100% overnight, by all means, you're not in a position where you have to take that exorbitant price. There's always the option to return to NICOR if necessary, to buy more time. Granted, there's uncertainty there, but a little more transparency. You'll always have gas, so there will never be an issue from the physical delivery side. It's just a matter of the price. And we can provide some guidance and consultative support as to what those options look like if that unforeseen circumstance results. But I think just to kind of go back to the original process, effectively, we would have bids reviewed here shortly, assuming we're good to go on our process and everyone is in agreement with that. And then from there, we'll pull sample agreements, get all that ironed out. And once the language is approved from State Attorney General, go to a subsequent bid to refresh those. And then, in the interim, have that conversations about here's what the bids look like. Have a conversation about what terms make the most sense from how long to purchase for. We'll try to iron out all of those conversations. So that way, when it comes time to actually execute something, it hopefully is a little more streamlined and not as burdensome and not being debated at that point.
Shut.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
So again, we're not voting on anything today. This is a process that we're working on because it's fresh to us here. So, and Madam Chairman?
I think Mr. English also had the answer to my earlier question about the cost.
Sure.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Can I delay that till the last, so we're done discussing this particular thing before we get to the cost? Please. Sorry.
Well, this is related to controlling the cost. Do we have a suggested temperature that our building should be at? And do we mandate that so that we don't have the variety of different requests requested by our other elected officials or in other buildings? I mean, it used to be everyone had to keep their temperature down at about 68. We were encouraged to wear sweaters or scarves. Then price of natural gas dropped and people could put up their temperatures to whatever they felt to be most comfortable for themselves. How are we? Do we have controls for that?
On a perfect world. Mr. Frozum.
Several years ago, we had an environment or an energy audit, and I can't quote it, but I know it probably addressed that as far as smart thermostats and a goal temperature. But anybody in building management will tell you, you can have two people sitting in cubicles 10 feet apart and one's freezing and one's hot. But yeah, I would think it'd be in the high 60s or so. And I was also going to mention, we still have a big coal bin downstairs. So if we get in a bind.
Back to coal, huh? Where's Mavis?
Mr.
Mavis is going to
Chairman?
like that. Okay.
I'm here.
I'd really rather not get too
Thank-
far into
please.
that. I appreciate the comment though, Madam Chairman.
And because
that-
if the cost is increasing, that may be something that would be an economical and very prudent move if we have, and I don't know if we have smart thermostats or not, and I'm being serious with it, because that could save thousands and thousands of dollars annually.
That's
Space,
actually
please.
part of the ComEd audit that we're doing currently with the buildings out at the Judicial Center. And so they will be coming back with recommendations on how to make those areas more energy efficient. And if you did hear the animal control solar project update at E&E, we also are getting hit on Geneva's electricity side due to the summer settings for their air conditioning. And so we'll be looking at that as well as part of our energy audit.
All right. I'm going to give Michael a chance to give us that figure before I put it off again.
And again, please bear in mind, this is just a ballpark based on what we're seeing for other clients with a similar contract start date. But based on the consumption for the county being approximately 40,000 decatherms per year, your current budget for the commodity is about $108,000 at where you're contracted currently. Where we're seeing prices now, your budget would most likely be somewhere around 160,000. So you're looking at about a $51,000 to $52,000 annual increase as it stands currently.
There
How
we
much
go.
is the thermostat?
$100,000.
Bates, please.
Just, Mr. Ford had his hand up here.
Okay.
We probably just really should move on from the subject. I just,
So
I just want
fascinating as it is.
It is, yeah. I just want to say I'd be interested to hear a report from ComEd on the efficiency. The one thing that doesn't excite me about it is the age of the units that we have. And if you really want to talk about doing some efficiency, we have to look at replacing some of our heating units with efficient units, then go into a thermostat, which is a very big cost.
Okay, thank you. And then, did anyone else have a comment? Any other, to wrap up, Mr. English?
Bates?
Oh, Bates, that was it. I knew somebody was out there, sorry. But we're not going to go too
Remember
far
me?
in the weeds, are we?
No, not too much. I want to thank Madam Chair for reminding us all to keep down the thermostats. I'd like to thank Ms. Wolnick for bringing up the topic that we will be doing a new ComEd energy efficiency audit of our buildings. So we should revisit this then, because the easiest money to save is the one you don't spend, and that's what energy efficiency can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bates. Okay. Anything else to wrap up, Mr. English or Jody? We're all set? Great, thank you
Nothing
for
for me.
attending, Mr.
Thank you.
English. All right, that was new business. Old business. Ms. Wolnick, I believe you're back up again for us.
Sorry,
here.
I'll be quick.
Okay.
ComEd does have grants too for the thermostats and the equipment, so that'll be really great. The AJC water management plan has been completed. We will be meeting next week with Phygenics and the county's water management plan team to discuss the actual implementation of the plan, as well as our first quarterly sampling event. The shower runs in the North Tower are still outstanding, so I will be working with building management staff to contract out for that work. In the interim, building management staff, which will now then be sheriff's staff, will continue to flush those lines daily. Just to give you an idea, the automated chlorine flushing system is been working fantastic, and we're maintaining a 0.2 milligram per liter chlorine residual in all the hot water systems in both of the towers. We did find quite a difference between the North Tower, which is more heavily occupied at the time, and the South Tower. The North Tower, we're flushing about 1,000 gallons a day, which is equivalent to about 10 full-time residents. However, with the South Tower being so lowly occupied, we're flushing close to 3,000 gallons per day, which is closer to 30 full-time applicant or residents. The water softener issue in regards to the water quality and the impacts it has on our equipment out there. The engineer has completed their review of the data and developed some options and wants to meet with the sheriff's office building management staff that's in the judicial center, the adult justice center, and go through which options might be the best for the future. And this would include the operation and maintenance side of things to make sure that whatever options are being suggested are the easiest option for staffing out at that facility. A quick update on the solar project. We will be having a PowerPoint presentation at the E&E committee this month to provide a full update. The landscape plans are in draft form. Just a reminder that building management was contracting for those trees in the amount of a budgeted $50,000, as well as the upgrade to the fencing, which is also budgeted at about $50,000. And so we should be seeing that wrapping up here in the next couple months and those bids coming through this committee for approval. If anyone has any questions, that's all I have to report.
Okay, any questions for Jody? Comments? All right, thank you. That being complete, any other old business, new business, anything else for the common good? Comments from committee members? Okay. Then can I have a motion and a second to place the reports on file?
Ford moves.
Ford,
Berman second.
Berman second. Roll call, please.
Berman,
Yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Bras,
Raz, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Caius.
Caius, yes.
Passes.
Okay. Item 13, executive session. I will entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees. Ford moves,
Martin seconds.
Martin seconds. Roll call, please.
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Bras,
Yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Caius.
Caius, yes.
Passes.
Okay, I guess we have to have a roll call. So whenever you're ready.
Berman,
Berman here.
Davis,
Davis here.
Ford,
Ford present.
Bras,
Raz here.
Gums,
Gums here.
Shepro,
Still here.
Pirog,
I'm also still here.
Martin,
Martin present.
Caius.
We're all still here. Dang, well, let's fix that. A motion to adjourn.
Ford moves.
Ford moves to adjourn.
Martin seconds.
Davis,
Martin
second.
seconds.
Or Martin.
All in favor?